presentation will be about Terezin. Today you will be a Red Cross member visiting Terezin. Please follow me to begin the tour. Welcome to Terezin, a fortress in north of Prague. Isn't this a beautiful location? This was originally a holiday resort for Czech nobility. This fortress, Terezinstraat, was at first created by Emperor Joseph II of Austria and named in honor of his mother, Maria Theresa. You are among the 150,000 Jews who were deported to Terezin, including 15,000 children. Many of you are artists and will have the opportunity of expressing yourself here at the camp. Our camp includes two studios. We have a technical drafting studio where you can use your artistic talents to create official reports, maps, and charts. Alternatively, we have an art studio where you may create paintings and decoration for the Nazi homes and buildings. We also have opportunities for those of you who are scholars, philosophers, scientists, and musicians of all types, including composers and conductors. We know some of you are internationally famous, and you will have the opportunity to contribute to the camp's cultural life. To continue our tour, I would like to introduce you to a couple of people. Born in 1916, Hanna Pravda began to show interest and passion towards performance from a very early age. Later in her life, she became a leading light in Prague theater. Pravda was deported to Terezin with her husband, who she was madly in love with. She kept a diary through the years. And in 1938, Hanna went voluntarily with her husband when he was put on a list to be deported east to Auschwitz. He perished and Hanna was to survive alone. Born in 1899, Hans Krasa was only 6 years old when he began to study piano. He wrote his first composition at the age of 11 in 1933. He was awarded the Czechoslovakia State Prize Award for composition. Just 5 years later, only one part of his identity mattered. He was a Jew. And by 1942, he was a prisoner in Terezin. His only crime was his ancestry. Born in 1929, Helga was only a little girl when she was deported to Terezin with her parents in 1941. Using her gifts of painting and drawing, Helga kept a diary, which included of images illustrating her life during the war. Helga and her mom were deported to Auschwitz in 1944. Take a moment to listen to this wonderful interview with Helga.
The miracle that we survived, we didn't eat actually. People need hope when they are suffering. They need it. From the first note, when somebody started with music, everybody felt God is here. Somebody makes us happy.
Of course, the work of these talented artists was at first illegal at the camp, but this all changed when 466 Danish Jews were deported to Terezin on June 23rd. The King of Denmark requested a Red Cross visit to the camp, which will determine whether or not the conditions were reasonable. Since there were rumors of extermination camps killing millions around Europe, the Nazis saw this as an opportunity to prove to the world that the Jews were being treated well. In preparation for the visit, the Nazis began a process of beautifying the camp. They painted some of the rooms and made sure that there were no more than 3 inmates within a room. In order to make sure that the camp did not look overcrowded, the Nazis deported a large group of Jews to be killed at Auschwitz. The Nazis had the Jews build many fake shops and cafes so it looked like they had a comfortable lifestyle. But still, give it up for the Nazis. I mean, they provided the Jews with the opportunity of expressing themselves through art. Of course, even once the Nazis did allow these performances to go on, the inmates were forced to pay for tickets. Why beautify the camp, you ask? Good question. I always thought the camp was beautiful just the way it was. Sure, less than 150 of the 15,000 children survived. And sure, dozens of people would share one room, so there was constant noise, bed bugs, fleas, lice, as well as the stink that comes from unwashed bodies. And yeah, people were always hungry because they were not given enough food. People would lose 1/3 of their weight in the first couple of months. The old didn't work and were therefore given the least amount of food, but I mean, that's fine. That's normal. The inmates were okay. Anyways, when the Red Cross visited, inmates were directed by the Nazis not to answer if the Red Cross asked them any questions, and they complied. The Nazis also forced Raphael Schechter to conduct a musical performance. And although we don't like to mention, he was later deported to Terezin and murdered the next day. Other than that, there was a tight schedule. The kids in the camp prepared a little play. Following the success of the inspection, the Nazis decided to create a movie featuring the supposed great life in the camp. The film is often called, and I was going to help me with the pronunciation,
The Führer
Gives a Village to the Jews. The Nazis explicitly used the videoing and acting and directing talents of the prisoners to create this false image of the camp. Following the 11 days of filming, the cast and directors were deported to Auschwitz and were then murdered. So, we have a strange situation. The practicing and performing of art and music was allowed at Terezin. On one hand, this is hauntingly wonderful. Inmates had a temporary escape from the cruel, cold world of the concentration camp. And the art and music that we have from these times help us remember these people. But on the other hand, the only reason the Nazis allowed the inmates to be involved in theater, music, and visual arts was because they saw a way for them to benefit from it. What I think is most important to remember is that the art and literature of Anne Frank's book and in Terezin is proof of the power of the human spirit. People, even in the most tragic circumstances, can create ways to express their humanity and their hope. And we can share in that experience by reading their books, listening to their music, and being moved by their art. I want to close with two quotes. One from Alfred Kenter, a musician, and one from our dearly beloved Anne Frank. Alfred Kenter, concentration camp prisoner at Terezin, shared, quote, "There were moments that seemed strangely magnified by a feeling of blissful make-believe amidst otherwise cold reality. I remember how overjoyed we were one day by the music of an accordion that someone had smuggled into the barracks. Everyone huddled up together in the poorly lit, freezing room, and for a while, we forgot our hurt as we listened to the tunes." End quote. Similarly, on Wednesday of April 5th, 1944, Anne wrote, "When I write, I can shake off all my cares. My sorrow disappears, and my spirits are revived." End quote. Anne Frank's diary, being the introduction to Holocaust studies, gets the readers hooked, wanting to learn more not only about Anne Frank, but those who were perished. And that's the value of art, including literature. Remembrance. Any questions? Yeah.
Why was it called Terezin? Do you know?
Yes, the emperor, his mom's name was Maria Theresa, and he named it in honor of her. Other questions? Yes.
I'm wondering, when you said the conductor who was deported, did you mean he was deported to Auschwitz?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said Terezin.
Oh, sorry.
Quite all right.
Yeah.
Do you know why they didn't have these opportunities in other camps?
Yeah, because this was mainly a ghetto. This was a stopping point. Everybody, almost everybody from this camp were later deported to somewhere else and ended up dead. Yes.
What made you want to present this way?
A couple years ago, I visited Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Israel, and our tour guide mentioned very briefly that art saved lives in the Holocaust. And
I think, were you asking about his presentation format?
Yes.
Again,
Oh,
Gur,
sorry.
it's that you've twisted the typical presentation style,
yeah.
so they're curious as well.
When we were learning grammar, Miss Christopher said the first signs of learning is confusion. And you guys wouldn't be able to ask, well, how does this connect to Anne Frank before you asked before you knew what this was, before you knew what my topic was. You had to know what my topic was in order to ask, wait, but how does this connect to Anne Frank? And that's why my thesis and connection only went at the end.
All right. Thank you very much, Gur.
Thank you.